Call of Duty is controversial again. Amazing, finally, the world was becoming so fucking boring. Battlefield 1 was viewed as sexist for some people because it excluded women, so Call of Duty is here to fix that issue. Also, no swastikas, because that is just going too far. After all, we can't have a game with swastikas. Not in 2017, right?
Man, have you taken your German lessons?
Oh. So what is actually happening? Call of Duty had its big gameplay reveal at E3 2017, which censored swastikas and introduced women in combat roles. Is it such a big deal? Is it catering to the PC culture? Let's have a look. Call of Duty is one of the biggest gaming franchises on Earth, loved and hated by so many. After last year's Infinite Warfare, its trailer reception and lackluster sales, Activision needed to step it up this year and do something truly spectacular. Well, what they came up with is Call of Duty WWII, which is a dumb title, by the way. And from the trailers, it looks fine. Single player looks like it checks every single World War II cliché in the book, but visually it looks stunning. Sound design seems to be awesome, and they seem to be focusing way more on historical accuracy than previous games, going back to their roots. And as far as I'm concerned, they did something truly amazing this year. They managed to convince people that World War II setting is original. And look, I'm not here to lie to you. I'm excited as well. Call of Duty wasn't on my radar for a long time, but the idea of going back to World War II with Call of Duty has me excited. Also, some of the features that the game promised sound interesting. The hub world, war game mode, while nothing original, looks like a bit of fun. We'll just have to wait and see. However, just like when they first introduced jetpacks in Advanced Warfare, also developed by Sledgehammer, they couldn't avoid controversy. Jetpacks were a huge game changer. They brought verticality into the mix, and while you may love them or hate them, they shook up Call of Duty scene considerably. And nowadays, it's not jetpacks that are controversial. It's women and swastikas. That sounds kind of funny. Basically, what got people upset is that women are now part of the multiplayer. Female models can now be picked and played as. And why is it so annoying for a lot of people? Well, women didn't really fight in World War II. That's why. That's not to say that no women fought in WWII, that wouldn't be correct. But especially looking at Americans' part in the conflict, women mostly served as medical nurses, in offices and firing AA guns. Some women also fought in resistance groups across Europe, but never in direct combat in American nor German forces. In Black Ops 3 there were several women characters and no one gave a shit. Why? Because they felt properly incorporated into the game. Here for some reason they feel forced and cater to the PC culture. I keep playing Titanfall 2 ever since it came out, and a lot of people are playing women characters. That's because they fit right in. No one gives a shit. To see a woman soldier, a German woman soldier with M1 Garand, seems odd for a lot of people, including myself. But does it actually matter? Honestly, in a way, I don't think so. Could it be immersion breaking? Sure. But gameplay-wise, it's just a model with different voice acting. Unfortunately, we live in a day and age where everybody needs to be pleased, otherwise companies risk being under fire from angry consumers. Kinda like what's happening right now. Ironic, isn't it? See, that's the thing. Sometimes developers want to please the loud minority, not realizing that most of their customers don't give a shit about being properly represented. It's just a game that wants to be authentic. I don't care if I'm playing a black guy in a game, even though I'm white in real life. And while Call of Duty was never about war realism, the older titles provided a lot of authenticity, especially in its single player. So the question is authenticity being compromised here, with including women and censoring swastikas? I guess that's entirely subjective, but the answer is yes. Take me, for instance. I was born in a tiny country in the middle of Europe 26 years ago, and I don't mind playing as a black soldier fighting in WWII, or as a white boy from Texas. And why should I? It's funny. You look back at previous Call of Duty titles, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, Titanfall, and you don't see a single person giving a shit about the gender of a character that they play as. But the bigger offender here, at least for me, are the censored swastikas. Basically, instead of swastikas, we have iron crosses. And while, yes, iron crosses existed in World War II, they actually existed all the way back in the good old Kingdom of Prussia days, I have to ask one simple question. Why? Why exclude swastikas? If the reason is that people might get offended, I'm gonna flip my shit. Swastikas go all the way back to Hinduism, and they translate to making of goodness or maker of goodness. And to see them be completely absent in a World War II game feels weird. And I would even argue that they are not just the aesthetic to the maps and the era. They are just as iconic as Hitler's tiny mustache. Swastika unfortunately became a symbol of ultimate evil in World War II. And to see them censored is just ignoring the history and the reality of the era. I just hope that some theories will be true, like that swastikas are only censored for the gameplay reveal trailer, because Germans might get angry. And while I think that's a weak excuse, at least I see some logic there. But if the swastikas are absent in the final product, I'm gonna flip my shit. Again, excuse me for this super machoistic analogy, but the lack of balls here is stunning. The ironic thing is, they go out of their way to just make the game feel as visceral as possible. People are getting stabbed by bayonets, their legs are flying off, limbs are getting separated from their bodies, there's just blood everywhere. It's really gruesome, graphic, and, might I even say, authentic. But to put a swastika in a game is just going way too far. To create a blood and gore and authenticity of Battlefield is fine. But don't you dare put in a symbol of Nazi Germany. I guess that's the world we live in nowadays, folks. If they don't want to represent the era as it actually was, why even go back to it? To please the old Call of Duty fans such as myself? Well, in so many interviews they claim they want to introduce this era to a whole new audience. Okay, fine, but introduce it properly. AAA developers are supposed to be the big ballsy guys, the big dudes with big budget and big dicks that can do whatever they want. No wonder people view Call of Duty these days as a really safe franchise when it's not taking any risks. And you know what the funny thing is? How is including a swastika in a World War II game taking a risk? It's part of the era, and a part of our history, and should be remembered for what it was and what it represented, not censored because we're afraid we might piss some people off. In conclusion, Activision are ruining their chances in making a comeback with Call of Duty. At least for me. The game looks fine. Nothing out of the ordinary. It looks like a Call of Duty game. And you know what? That's fine. And you know what else? I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope that swastikas were really removed only for the world reveal trailer. I hope that women are playable only because it's multiplayer and they provide no gameplay changes and they're just there for the aesthetics. I hope that I'm wrong. Because if these features are in the game because they are scared of a backlash, well, that would be just so fucking sad.